When we think about the words nutrition and periods, we probably think about the cravings that are normally associated with being on our periods. But there is a lot more to our menstrual cycle than just our periods, and there is a lot more to consider than just cravings when it comes to nutrition throughout the menstrual cycle. My name is Elle, registered dietitian specialising in sports nutrition and eating disorders. And today we're going to explore some of the important nutrients throughout the menstrual cycle. Let's start with understanding the menstrual cycle to begin with. The menstrual cycle has two phases, the follicular phase and the luteal phase, and begins on the first day of menstruation, aka the periods. Cycles lasting between 21 to 40 days are considered normal, but the average cycle is thought to be about 28 days. For most, bleeding lasts up to a week and is the first part of the follicular phase. Ovulation occurs after the follicular phase and before the luteal phase, at around day 14 of the cycle. Ovulation is where an egg is released from the ovaries. During the luteal phase, which is the second half of the cycle, the lining of the womb begins to thicken in preparation for pregnancy. This is typically where women experience premenstrual syndrome, or PMS, symptoms such as cramping, changes in mood, bloating, headaches, fatigue, acne, all of the fun stuff. If this egg is not fertilized, the womb lining sheds, which leads to menstruation, and the cycle begins again. So that summarizes the menstrual cycle. Now let's take a look at some of the nutrition considerations for each of these stages. Starting at the beginning, the follicular phase. This starts with the first day of the period, and the most commonly thought of nutrient associated with menstruation is iron. Women are naturally at a higher risk of iron deficiency anemia due to the loss of blood throughout menstruation, and this is why women of reproductive age have a higher daily iron requirement than men. It is recommended that adult males aim for 8.7 milligrams of iron per day, whereas females that have begun their cycle and up to premenopause should aim for 14.8 milligrams of iron per day. Iron deficiency anemia is the most common nutrient deficiency, with it affecting approximately 25% of women globally. Those who have particularly heavy periods are at an even higher risk of iron deficiency anemia. However, iron is a nutrient that should be considered throughout the entire cycle and not just menstruation, and there is evidence to suggest that iron may reduce PMS symptoms. One study that investigated the mineral intake of approximately 3,000 women over a 10-year period found that those who had high intakes of dietary iron were up to 40% less likely to experience PMS symptoms. This was, unfortunately, one of the few studies in this area, and more research is needed to understand why the higher intake of iron displayed a reduction in PMS symptoms. A balanced diet will most likely provide a sufficient amount of iron. However, those who are vegan or vegetarian or who don't eat meat often may be at a higher risk of not getting enough iron. Although plant-based foods do contain iron, the iron is not as bioavailable as the iron from animal sources. You can check out this video that Katie did explaining the different forms of iron and its bioavailability. Iron supplementation is often associated with constipation and other effects, so ensure to seek advice from your GP or registered dietitian before taking iron supplements. Ovulation occurs following the follicular phase, and this is where it is most likely for a woman to fall pregnant, although this can happen a few days after this too. Folic acid is a supplement that is most commonly associated with pregnancy or those who are trying to conceive. However, it is actually recommended that all women of reproductive age take a folic acid supplement, and this is because nearly half of all pregnancies are unplanned. Folate is a type of B vitamin, which are water-soluble vitamins, meaning that we cannot store these in our body, which emphasizes the importance of daily consumption of folate. Folic acid is a form of folate, which is found in supplements, but folic acid is also added to commonly consumed foods, such as breakfast cereals or white flour, as part of a public health initiative to help prevent deficiencies in folic acid. Our bodies need folate to create DNA and to support the development of the nervous system in unborn babies, and there is an increased likelihood of developing a neural tube defect such as spina bifida in women who do not have enough folate pre-conception and during the early weeks of pregnancy. Women need 400 micrograms of folate per day, and those wishing to become pregnant or who could become pregnant, whether planned or not, should take an additional 400 micrograms of folic acid as a supplement. The next phase of the cycle is the luteal phase. During During the luteal phase, in the lead up to the period, there is actually an increase in metabolism, with some studies finding that women may require up to 300 calories more per day, but this of course will vary among women and will be influenced by other factors such as body composition, genetics, and physical activity levels. In an attempt by the body to acquire this additional energy, it is common to experience increased levels of hunger in the lead up to menstruation. Many women can find this increase in hunger frustrating, as it may show up as cravings for specific foods, like chocolate. Cravings for high carb and fat foods are common, and it is because these foods are typically quite energy dense, which is what the body needs during this time. So ladies, please have some self-compassion and honor your hunger. We know that the more we resist cravings, the more likely we are to overdo it on that food when we eventually allow ourselves to have it. This is why tracking your cycle can be really helpful, as it helps us to understand and predict any changes in our body and make sure to account for this through our nutrition. Progesterone peaks during the luteal phase, and this is a hormone thought to increase appetite, which can play a role in these cravings and increased hunger around this time. Progesterone is also associated with protein catabolism, and considering progesterone is highest during the mid-luteal phase, it is really important to be ensuring you're getting enough protein here to prevent excess muscle protein breakdown. In the mid to late luteal phase, which is the immediate lead up to menstruation, it is common for women to experience PMS symptoms, and it is actually expected that up to 90% of women experience premenstrual symptoms, or PMS. Convenience and highly palatable foods can appear more desirable when you're on your periods, and not just to satisfy cravings or because of having an increased appetite, but also because you may not feel full of energy or that great within yourself. However, nutrition can actually play a role in easing symptoms of PMS, although unfortunately there is no ultimate cure for this. Carbohydrates are our body's preferred source of fuel, and they play a vital role in hormone regulation in women too. During menstruation, we can be more inclined to crave sugary carbohydrates than more fibrous ones, and this is partially because they provide fast-acting energy that our body often seeks when we're tired, and also for the feel-good effects of carbohydrates, as they're associated with serotonin release. However, choosing high-fiber and starchy carbohydrates can help to prevent cravings, as they keep our blood sugar levels more stable and therefore our mood and energy more stable. Choosing high-fiber carbohydrates like whole grains, oats, and root vegetables can help to keep bowel habits regular, which can be impacted by the hormonal changes in the lead up to our period. Omega-3 fatty acids are a type of unsaturated fatty acids that are essential, which means we cannot make them in our body, and so we must obtain them from food. Food sources of omega-3s include oily fish like salmon and some plant foods like walnuts. A meta-analysis published this year found that omega-3 fatty acids are efficient in reducing the severity of PMS symptoms. Omega-3s are also known for improving mood, reducing severity of depression and anxiety in studies too, and another recent study highlighted that omega-3 supplementation alleviated physical symptoms of PMS, whilst also improving women's quality of life. Whilst there is evidence that omega-3 fatty acids can reduce symptoms of PMS, there is no exact recommendation for supplementation for supporting PMS as of yet, but incorporating omega-3 rich foods at this time can be a good idea. One of the common symptoms of PMS is bloating and fluid retention. In order to maintain a balance between fluid and electrolytes, the body retains more water when there is a higher consumption of salt than normal. It is important that we limit our salt intake in general to less than 6 grams of salt per day, but if you commonly experience fluid retention around the time of your period, it might be helpful to limit excess salt within your diet. Instead of adding salt to meals, opt for spices or herbs, or choose low-salt condiments. Whilst you might not be adding salt to meals, many foods contain some degree of added salt, as salt is commonly used as a natural preservative in many foods, so it tends to be higher in packaged foods. Magnesium plays a role in muscle contractions and is often recommended to prevent muscle cramps, but it has also been seen to play a role in the reduction of PMS symptoms, predominantly period cramps and bloating. One study identified that magnesium supplements alongside vitamin B6 supplements worked better than taking magnesium supplements alone, but both of these groups were more effective in reducing PMS symptoms than the placebo. Cacao is a source of magnesium, so a high-quality chocolate certainly has a place in the diet. Other sources of magnesium include nuts, some seeds, and whole grains. According to a study conducted in 2022, zinc supplementation can improve PMS symptoms and was associated with improved health-related quality of life. Another study found that the use of zinc supplementation in combination with a type of painkiller was superior in reducing period pain in comparison to the painkiller alone. These studies exploring the effects of zinc on PMS used dosages from 30 milligrams to 220 milligrams, but the dietary reference value for zinc in the UK is only 7 milligrams per day for women, which is not enough to optimize the effects seen in these studies. However, as it is a recent area of research, more evidence is going to be required to give an exact recommendation. Chasteberry is a herbal supplement, and a number of studies have demonstrated a reduction in symptoms of PMS. It is thought that chasteberry works through hormonal modulation, with studies identifying that it may stimulate the production of more progesterone whilst decreasing prolactin levels. Because of its effects on hormones, it could reduce the effectiveness of hormonal contraceptives. Evidence does support the use of chasteberry for PMS symptoms, menstrual disorders, as well as infertility. However, there is no standard recommendation for this supplement. As with some of the other supplements we explored today, studies use varying doses and different supplementation types. I hope that this video has helped to highlight some of the key nutrients that are important throughout the menstrual cycle, but also which may help with PMS symptoms. You can check out some of the supplements listed in this video in the description box below, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Myprotein YouTube channel for more great evidence-based nutrition information.